We all completely missed the point of last year's N7 day. While we were all analyzing the N7's walk and body type, we missed the meaning of Epsilon, Oculon, and Nebula. And while obsessing over the N7 coat's sleek style, we missed the coat itself being a huge red flag for who this really is. But after spending a year dissecting the identity of the new N7, I finally figured out that everything about this N7's appearance is just pure bait to keep our attention away from what actually matters. In order to properly explain the main point of last year's N7 day though, we'll have to first bite on the obvious bait provided to us and figure out who exactly they are. Let's dive into it. From what I've seen, most guesses on who this is includes Liara, Arya, Miranda, Shepard, or the protagonist of the next game. But I think that this N7 is actually none of the above. If you've watched any of my breakdowns of the teases, you know that most, if not all of my theories, have a Gamble tweet at the heart of them. And when analyzing the N7, once again, a Gamble tweet is the centerpiece of who I think this is. After the dust of N7 Day 2023 finally settled, Gamble cryptically tweeted, "Not everything is as it seems." After seeing this, I had one prevailing thought that we were all most likely completely missing the mark of who the new N7 is. First, some clarity on how N7s come to be. N7s are all traditionally humans, since the N7 program is a special branch of the Systems Alliance, an Earth-based military force. They're basically the top soldiers of the Alliance, which is why Shepard was the best the Alliance had to offer when the Reapers attacked Earth. Keeping this in mind, I decided to try multiple human heads to fit inside this helmet, starting with Conrad Werner. It quickly became clear, though, that there's basically no way a human-shaped head could fit in this helmet because of these gaps. And when looking at the overall shape of the helmet, the visor section matching up with Conrad's eyes makes even less sense, with a significant amount of helmet above, which wouldn't fit anyone's forehead, except maybe Megamind. Even when using Jack as an example, who has a very lean facial structure, she simply wouldn't be able to wear this because of its shape, proportions, and random gaps. So what this tells me is that this helmet cannot fit any human-shaped head, which rules out all the previous characters, including the Asari. So that's why I'm pretty sure this N7 is not human, which makes Gamble's cryptic tweet, "Not everything is as it seems," make a lot more sense. So if the N7 isn't human, and the head and body proportions don't fit the profile of any alien that we know of, it leaves only one avenue left to figuring out who this is, carefully examining the presentation of the N7 itself. But remember how I said that the entire point of the new N7 was that they're bait to divert us away from what really matters from this tease? Just keep that in mind as we go, because in order to figure out how they're bait, we first have to discover who they are. So for now, we'll bite. The Mass Effect team gave us 4 major clues as to who this N7 is. We've already gone over the first, which was the wacky helmet that doesn't fit the head shape of any human or alien we know of. So from this clue, we know that the N7 is most likely not human or any alien we've encountered so far. The second clue is their high collar, which is a pretty major red flag. High collars are very rarely worn by the good guys. It's usually worn by the bad guys, to the point where tvtropes.org coined this trend the high collar of doom. So I'm more likely leaning that the N7 is probably a bad guy, which would also track with clue number 3, the foreboding musical choice when we first see this N7 turn. The musical combo of Eden Prime, PB's intro music, and Aralac Company are so foreboding it gives me instant evil vibes. Here, I'll put this music over Shepard's first introduction, just to show how not good guy this musical choice is. See what I mean? That felt really off, which again leads me to believe the new N7 is probably evil. The final nail in the coffin that helped me figure out the N7's probable identity is clue number 4, which once again is another Gamble tweet. Right after the new N7 was revealed, This tweeter asked Gamble if the N7 was a person or a robot/AI, and Gamble replied, "What's a person?" The choice of Gamble replying to this question in and of itself is probably the elusive N7 identity answer we were all searching for last year, which brings me to two viable options about who the new N7 is. The more unlikely option is that the N7 program has been infiltrated by a human-like alien with evil intentions towards the Alliance. Or the more likely option that I've personally believed for a year now is that this N7 is an evil AI that's gone rogue. But even though I just went through the whole rigmarole of trying to figure out who the N7 is, I've fallen into the trap that the Mass Effect team set for us. Who the N7 is doesn't actually matter. Their identity was the juicy bait the team waved in front of us while they sneakily hid the actual point of last year's teaser elsewhere. The only reason I went through all that was to show that the N7 is most likely evil. Whether or not this is Edie, a different AI, or a human with a really strangely shaped head, doesn't really matter. And that's because I think the point of N7 Day 2023 wasn't about who the N7 is. It's the fact that they screwed with the Alliance, and the code of Epsilon, Oculon, and Nebula might hold the answer as to why they did so. Once the final countdown of N7 Day 2023 was up, we got one last tease of the new N7 turning their head, along with some crucial text. Warning, security breach detected, contact Systems Alliance. Which to me, after deciphering all the clues that this N7 is evil, points to the new N7 being the one who breached the Systems Alliance security. Putting the thought of this N7 being an AI aside, that's absolutely insane. A villainous N7 directly harming the Alliance is way more important than who the N7 is, which is why I think this is the main point of last year's N7 Day. I've gone over in previous breakdowns that the N7 might have been watching the new relay the Alliance is building, mainly because Gamble literally hinted that the N7 and the relay are most likely connected. So my prediction for why they breached the Alliance's security directly connects to the relay itself, which brings me to the infamous phrase of Epsilon, Oculon, and Nebula, the key, maybe quite literally, to everything. And to answer why that is, we're gonna have to go back to the beginning of humanity's space travel across the galaxy. Have you ever wondered how the very first mass relay was activated? In the Mass Effect book Initiation, it briefly discusses the first mass relay activation made by a small team that included John Grissom and Alec Ryder. This team traveled to the edge of the solar system, where they discovered humanity's first mass relay ever, the Karen Relay. In the book, it specifically says that Alec helped decipher the signal sequence needed to reliably activate the relay. When I first read those specific words, deciphering the signal sequence, it kicked my 3 brain cells into overdrive as to why the N7 was observing the new relay. What if Epsilon, Oculon, Nebula is the signal sequence needed to activate the human-made relay, and anyone who had the sequence could unlock the relay for their own purposes? So in the relay tease, I think the N7 first observed the relay, and in last year's tease, that same N7 most likely stole this signal sequence in order to activate it for their own nefarious purposes. It's the only thing I can think of that connects what happened on N7 Day 2022 with last year's. But even though I thought up this unhinged idea, there's one major catch. In 2021, we first saw a Geth crater, and then the next year, we heard Liara speaking with a Geth. Then after that, we were teased with what's most likely Liara and a wacky-looking Geth. Clearly, there's a pattern of every N7 Day tease being connected. So the major catch of N7 Day 2023 is that it literally can't be viewed alone. It has to be analyzed collectively alongside the teasers from 2021 and 2022, and most likely this year's N7 Day tease as well. So that means we can guess all we want on what the actual point on last year's N7 Day was, but it won't be until this year's tease that we'll see whether this N7 is evil, an AI, or if they stole something from the Systems Alliance actually means anything. I'll be doing a massive breakdown of how every N7-day tease might be connected in my next video. But if you'd like to get a head start on your next Mass Effect theorizing, watch this video next on the top 10 hints you might have missed from all the teasers so far. See you there.